we're going to talk about the different components to our oxygen acetylene brazing and cutting head torch set. This is a Victor. It comes with your oxygen acetylene hoses, knowing that your red hose is your acetylene side and it's threaded backwards from your oxygen, so you can't get your hoses crossed on your regulators. Then you have your regulators. This is your oxygen acetylene regulator. This side here is for pressure. This side here is for operating pressure to the tip. This one right here, now this is rolled around in my truck, so like everybody else, I've lost one of my gauge covers. Gauge is still operational, but I'm having to be real careful with it. I cannot find my lens. But anyway, this is our oxygen regulator. This is our tank pressure side. This is our operating pressure side, and this is how we adjust the operating pressures coming off of our tip. Then we have our carrier, of course. Always want to have an oxygen and acetylene bottles. You actually want to have at least one extra acetylene with you when you go out to do a job, because you're going to run normally, if you have your torch pressure set correctly and you're using the correct flame, you're going to run 2 acetylene tanks to 1 oxygen right around in there somewhere. So it's good to have a backup on both of them. Right here is we have our valve handle. This goes on to our hoses. Our acetylene side is threaded backwards from our oxygen side, so you can't get the hoses twisted on there. This is our regulator. This is how we adjust the air or the flow coming out of our tip. We have a number 1 tip, number 2 tip, and a number 3 tip. We also have a cutter's head, which basically has a rosebud tip on there. You could use that for your bigger copper, but for what we use in residential and small commercials is normally the number 1 tip and the number 2 tip. Some of the other things that you want to have with you is you want to have a valve stem wrench. When you get your torch set, it comes with a valve wrench and it goes on there, but this one's been used so much that it's kind of wallered out a little bit. It's rolled around in the truck and it's gotten bent, but I always have it with my striker. You always want to have a striker with you. You don't want to be lighting your torch with a cigarette lighter. This is the most dependable part that you can get. Also keeps you from getting burnt. When you go to strike your torch, the tips are replaceable on here. They come unscrewed. You can get new flints for it. I think you can get like 5 for $4 or $5 or whatever. It's not very much, but they do last a while. You also want to have a tip cleaner. This will clean out any of your tips because acetylene is a very dirty gas. It soots up the inside of your tips and the bases. But if you're working too close and you have your oxygen acetylene incorrectly, you tend to burn your tips, and you can clean them out with your little tip cleaner, and I advise everybody to have one. Something else that you really need to have with you in your torch set is your mirror. Most of the leaks that we run across in the HVAC field is the underside of the braze joints, and that's because nobody looks at them. They think they're all good brazers, and they just go in there and they think they're done, and they walk away and they nitrogen check it, and then they find that they have a leak under their joint. Take a look after you braze the joint. It's still somewhat hot. You can still braze your, remelt your alloy and seal up any of your leaks. Mirror is a good thing to have. Of course, you want to have good, strong, heavy gloves and your safety glasses.